Good Thursday morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'm Maria Bartiromo, and it is Thursday, May 22nd. It is 8 a.m. on the button on the East Coast. Secretary of the Interior Doug Burgum testifying before the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee yesterday on his department's budget watch.
Our national resources are national assets that belong to the public, and they should be responsibly managed to help grow our economy, help balance our budget, and generate a revenue for the American citizens. With common sense approaches and modern systems, we can increase the returns for our citizens, strengthen our economy, create great paying and meaningful jobs, all while protecting our beautiful lands, our abundant wildlife, and our clean air and clean water. The President's 2026 budget blueprint requests $11.9 billion in current authority for the department, providing significant savings to the American people. Of that amount, $10.6 billion is within the jurisdiction of the Interior Environment Appropriations Subcommittee.
Joining me now, the man himself, Interior Secretary Doug Burgum. Mr. Secretary, thanks very much for being here this morning. Good to see you. And I want to start with the breaking news of the morning. And of course, that is that the House has passed President Trump's big, beautiful bill, which, of course, includes money for the border, to secure the border, money for the wall, extending the tax cuts, which President Trump signed into law in his first term, cutting spending and unleashing American energy dominance. Can you walk us through what specifically that means to our energy capacity and what you're expecting to happen in the coming couple of years as a result?
Well, Maria, first of all, this incredible piece of historic legislation that passed this morning doesn't happen without President Trump's leadership. His vision around lower taxes, lower regulation, unleashing America's potential is coming to true. This is promises made and promises kept. And this bill has got so many fantastic things in it, whether it's border security, national defense, unleashing energy, lower taxes for Americans, lower taxes for senior citizens. This thing is just fantastic, and congratulations, not just the president, but his teamwork with Mike Johnson's team. These guys working round the clock to make it happen is going to lift up all Americans. And of course, from an interior standpoint, 41% of that southwestern border is interior land. So to see that we've finally got the funding to support law enforcement and finish the wall, that is fantastic. And of course, unleashing American energy, President Trump is providing such support to Chris Wright, Secretary of Energy, Lee Zeldin, leading our EPA, myself, everybody who's involved in the National Energy Dominance Council. He's empowering us to, again, cut red tape and allow American innovation drive forward and help us get production up. And that's why, as we head into Memorial Day weekend, inflation adjusted, we got the lowest gas prices in 2 decades as Americans head out, expected to head out in record numbers this weekend, visiting friends, visiting family, visiting loved ones, and getting in their automobiles and driving, because President Trump made it affordable again. So
what I'm really asking is, from a practical standpoint, what does this mean for America in terms of unleashing the energy capacity and unleashing American dominance? I spoke yesterday with the chairman and CEO of Chevron, Mike Wirth, who was telling me a little about their operations in the Gulf of America. And, you know, what they're doing in the Permian Basin right now is just incredible, where they've got, you know, operations deep in the water, and the pressure that they've got, I think it's 20,000 pounds per square inch. And you know, he said to me, look, the equivalent of an elephant standing on a quarter. I mean, this is the kind of you know, strength that we've got there in terms of excavation. So, I mean, what do you see happening in, let's say, at the end of President Trump's term? How will America be different as a result of this big, beautiful bill as it relates to energy?
Well, I think there's a number of things going on, both inside the bill and outside the bill, that we're doing every day. We made a change for the Gulf of America developers. It's about 16% of the oil in America comes out of the Gulf. One small change that we made, changed one little regulation that allowed the commingling as they bring these products ashore, and which is completely safe, completely everything's just fine. 100,000 barrel a day increase just from changing one piece of red tape. We've also made a rule relative to some crazy Biden rules that were just choking the small developers in the Gulf. It takes about $7 billion of bonding expense off of their balance sheets, allows them to spend that money on innovation. And of course, the companies like Chevron and Mike Wirth that are doing the deeper water development, the innovations that they have with those high pressure well developments, all of this innovation, if we unleash this innovation, it's going to mean more supply. We're able to sell energy to our friends and allies and have more prosperity at home.
Yeah. For sure. And I think the deregulatory part of the agenda is so important. And markets are certainly focused on that. Secretary, the Interior Department announced this week that you're looking at potentially allowing companies to deep sea mine for minerals under the ocean floor off of the coast of America's Samoa. China and Russia both increasing their mining activity in the region. And of course, President Trump did that historic deal with Ukraine to excavate and partake in the profits of the rare earth minerals there. Tell us what you're announcing and the importance of this deal.
Well, American Samoa is a U.S. territory in the South Pacific. China's been active on three sides of American Samoa. China and Russia both leading the world right now in their activity around deep sea mining for minerals. And American Samoa represents a big opportunity. This is the Interior Department. We have responsibility for managing American territories across the Caribbean and the Pacific. And we're putting out an opening for initiating the process to lease those ocean bed minerals. America has more acreage of undersea seabed that we can lease than the entire continental U.S.
Wow.
We're talking billions of acres of seabed. This is a huge asset of America that can be developed safely and smartly. And what's down there? Nickel, cobalt, and other key minerals that we need for national defense. And with the modern techniques that we have today, you can mine these with robotic undersea miners. You can do it in a way that doesn't affect the ocean or the wildlife in the ocean, the fish. And so this is there's so many great advances. But and again, we're trailing. One of the things we learned, Maria, in the last month on April 4th, when China put export controls on critical minerals, a wake-up call for all of us in America. The over 20 top minerals that we have, 85%, that we need of the top 20 critical minerals, China controls 85% of the refining of that. So this is one of the most precarious supply chains we have for defense, technology, automotive, and certainly the Trump administration. We've got a deep commitment to get ourselves back in the game of mining and refining of critical minerals in our country. This is absolutely necessary for national security.
Oh, yeah. No, this could not be more important, particularly at a time that we're talking about innovation in AI and quantum computing, and we need more energy and battery pressure, et cetera. And, I also think it's interesting that, the president is the first president to really focus on how dependent America is on China for so many things. You're talking about rare earth minerals. What about prescription drugs, right? What about all of the production of the key things that we need so much? So this was so important that the president has made this a priority. And I'm glad to see some in corporate America are beginning to figure out there are serious national security issues related to all of this. I want to get your take on the response from China on President Trump's Golden Dome. In this big, beautiful bill, there is obviously money increasing for defense, and the president went through the Golden Dome yesterday, similar to the Iron Dome in Israel. Suddenly, China says that it is concerned about the president's Golden Dome. Why would that be?
I can't imagine why. Obviously, this is a super smart thing for us to do. And of course, we're living in a world, and we know it was just in the last 18 months. There was a day when there was 400 rockets fired at Israel at the same time. And 399 were shot down. And then everybody in America is like, oh, okay, what was the score of the ball game last night? We take it for granted that we're able to have that level of ability to not knockdown threats that if we hadn't had that, Israel would have been destroyed in a day.
Right.
And that doesn't happen without AI. That doesn't happen without advanced computing and technology to have that kind of defense. And so for President Trump to be pursuing the Golden Dome for America at a time when people have got both the capability and the willing to use it against us and our allies is absolutely critical. But none of that works without more electricity, which is what, again, President Trump understands is better than anyone. We've got to increase our baseload electricity from traditional sources in this country, or we aren't going to have the power to run AI.
So what about nuclear? How significant should we be looking at nuclear technology in terms of part of the portfolio of energy alternatives?
Well, nuclear is going to play a key role going forward. Finally, the private sector is back in. There's dozens of companies working on new technologies. But the timeline for that is even though they're moving at a rapid pace, it's really in the 2030s before we're going to start to see significant scale coming from nuclear. So right now, the game is we've got to get our natural gas resources. We've got to be able to build linear infrastructure. There was some things in the big, beautiful bill that are important for us building pipelines. The anti-American, what I call anti-American, because if you're against liquid fuels, you're not on Team USA. If you were for all batteries, you were on Team China because they were controlling the minerals. But if you're on Team USA, we've got to be able to build pipelines in this country, especially natural gas pipeline. I'm encouraged that both the states many states that have resisted these passes are getting on board. But we need to make sure that we pass legislation that allows America to build linear infrastructure. We've got to get low-priced, reliable, clean American gas to every corner of this country.
And we've spoken with a number of startups in the nuclear energy business, and they too are excited about what's to come. Real quick on the upcoming holiday, an estimated 45.1 million Americans expected to travel this Memorial Day weekend. That is up 5.5% from 2024. Mr. Secretary, what should they be expecting in the way of gasoline prices and the president's energy agenda affecting travel?
Well, we're down 15% on gas prices since President Trump took office. Another promise made, promise delivered. Inflation adjusted, that's the lowest price in 2 decades. Of course, your individual results may vary. If you're in a state, like California, where they've got super high gas taxes, you're going to be paying more than people are in other states that don't have that. But anyway, I tell everybody, drive safe this weekend and enjoy being with your families.
All right, we will leave it there. And good to see you as well, Secretary. Be safe this Memorial Day weekend. Thank you, sir.